give the invocation the way that I'm accustomed to giving it. Heavenly Father, we come once more and again to give you praise, honor, and thanks. We thank you for this day that you've made. As we come this evening, Father God, to do the business of the town, I pray that you continue to be with us and help us to always make the right decisions and be pleasing to you. I pray for our first responders, the military, their spouse. I pray for this great community. I pray that you continue to lead, guide us, and direct us in the way that you would have us to go. This is my prayer. In Jesus Christ's name, I do pray. Amen.
Thank you. For the board, are there any additions or deletions to the agenda? Alderwoman Sutherland.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to add to the agenda for discussion one of the businesses, a 50-year of service to Mr. Johnny Barbershop on Main Street, as well as discussion about the date of the Christmas tree lighting.
Item B will be discussion of business owner. His name is Johnny.
Says Johnny's Barbershop, 50 years of service to the town of Spring Lake.
Johnny
Wilkie.
Wilkie. All right, that will be item 5B. And your next one, Alderwoman? D.
The date for the Christmas tree lighting. You said 5B for the first one?
5B, David.
All right, thank you.
Any other additions or deletions? Alderman O'Gara.
I'd like to delete the closed session this evening, after conversation with the town manager and satisfied.
Item 7, closed session is deleted. Is there a motion for the approval of the agenda?
What was for the Christmas tree lighting?
Excuse me, Christmas tree lighting was 5E.
Thank you.
Mayor Pro Tem.
I move that we approve the agenda with the additions and deletions as stated.
Alderman O'Gara.
I second that motion.
It has been moved and seconded that we approve the agenda with the 2 items added. All in favor, sign of aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, by sign of nay. Okay, item 4, the approval of consent items. Alderwoman Sutherland.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to make a motion that we approve the consent items for draft minutes of August the 23rd, 2021 regular meeting, draft meeting of September the 13th, 2021, work session meeting, draft minutes of September the 27th, 2021 regular meeting.
Alderwoman Cooper.
I'll second that motion.
It has been moved and seconded that we approve the consent items. All in favor, sign of aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, sign of nay. Ayes have it. Okay. Ms. Wooden-Waver, item 5A.
I believe when you're ready.
Yes, okay, item 5A is, the local government LGC update. Ms. Edmondson, Secretary of the North Carolina Local Government Commission. Good evening.
Good evening. I apologize
apologize for us being late. I had a medical appointment that ran long.
Oh, we understand. Ms. Edmondson, how would you like to proceed with this? Put everything out and then entertain questions, or how?
Yeah, I do have some opening remarks, and then I'll just open it up to questions after that. How's that?
After you, okay, yes,
Okay.
okay, thank you.
So, once again, good evening, everyone. Appreciate the time on the agenda tonight. As you know, the commission took control of the town's finances on October 5th. I'm here tonight basically to talk about why that happened and what you can expect going forward. And so I really want people to ask questions of me, of my staff, about what you should expect in the coming months. The commission, of course, has been keeping a close eye on the town's finances for a while, with concerns ranging from potential mismanagement or misappropriation of funds to budgeting issues, and finally to inadequate cash flows. The possibility of the town being unable to meet its November debt service payments was the kind of the final straw that spurred the commission to take the action that it took. While we now believe the town will have sufficient cash to make those payments in November, we are working on a cash flow analysis to see how the cash looks for the remainder of the fiscal year and beyond, particularly given that the town has another round of debt service payments due in May of 2022. We've got, debt service, we'll have to factor in the debt service for the 2 fire trucks. Those payments just started in March. And then we also have to work to find a resolution for that unapproved loan for the fire station of $1.3 million. Right, so the town's debt service obligations are increasing overall. Of course, October, November, and December are your higher cash flow months. That's when you're getting your property taxes in, and we've already started to see the effects of that. That's one reason we are a little less concerned about those November payments at this time. What people tend to not think about, though, is that once that cash levels out in January, then it starts to drop off again. So the cash that you receive now got to last until that next cycle that starts over again in the fall. This will be the focus of our cash flow analysis, to make sure that the town will have enough cash to make it through, again, not only the spring, but make it all the way to next fall, when the property taxes pick up again. In the interim, we believe it will be in the town's best interest to take a very conservative approach to budgeting and spending. I know that y'all have already been doing that. We will continue that and continue to look for ways to save money for the town. The commission doesn't typically exercise its authority over local governments that are in good financial condition, so it is very common for the staff to take a very critical look at the town's finances to see where adjustments can be made. On top of that, y'all already know you've got a large deficit that we need to start working on taking care of that. And we realize we will not be able to fix that in one fiscal year, but we do have to start seeing some progress. In that regard, nothing will be off the table as far as our budgetary review. Debt service payments have to be made by law. Those come first, and we will prioritize after that. We will work very, very hard to make sure we don't lay off anybody that is currently working for the town if we don't absolutely have to. That would be an action of last resort. We will do our best to preserve services. But again, we've got to take some really critical looks at your budget and start making adjustments that will help prepare Spring Lake for a more stable financial future. Regarding the budgeting, the budget decisions from this point forward will belong to the Local Government Commission and not to this board. We certainly will listen to your input and take that into consideration, but the final decisions will be made by the LGC. So if we need to amend the budget for something, that amendment will have to go to the commission for their approval. If we are still here next spring, the commission will be the one adopting the annual budget for the town. Again, with your input. We don't operate in a vacuum. in that way. But the commission takes on the role of this board for all financial decisions, including budget decisions. Another concern that I know y'all are aware of is the accounting and bookkeeping. The town has hired extra help and has made a lot of progress on that. But the task has been overwhelming, and as a result, we are not yet where we need to be with the accounting and bookkeeping. Your staff knows that, my staff knows that, y'all all know that. Again, the enormity of the task has been overwhelming to everyone. As a result of that, as you all already know, your 2021 audit will not be on time. And we signed off on that because we knew that the bookkeeping had to come first. That had to get done in order to have an accurate audit. Once that audit is complete and the bookkeeping is caught up, I think we'll have a much better picture and a much more accurate picture of where things are in terms of financial standing. From an operational standpoint, there's not a lot that will change. Samantha is still the manager and the finance officer. Her signature or that of Deputy Finance Officer David Irwin off my staff must be on every check. Right? You have to have a finance officer's signature on check. The second signature will continue to be Mayor Dobbins or Mayor Pro Tem Aziz. And then we'll revisit that, of course, after the election to make those changes. All expenditures will have to be thoroughly documented, and such documentation will be presented for review when the signatures are requested. Again, I know that's already going on, but we will continue that. Any credit card purchases have to be pre-authorized by finance. So that would be either by Samantha or by David. And again, all the documentation must be maintained. Staff can continue to use fuel cards as long as those are documented properly. If we find that those are not being documented, those will be pulled as well. We'll work with your staff to develop appropriate processes and procedures to make sure that there's sound controls over your bookkeeping processes, particularly receipts and disbursements. As soon as we can get the bookkeeping caught up, we will start working with staff to upgrade policies that involve finance. For example, the personnel policy of the town hasn't been updated since 1999. That's a long time for a personnel policy to go without being updated. So we'll continue to work with that. We are fully supportive of the work that the accountants that you have hired are doing, and we plan to continue that contract as long as they're willing and able to do so. Again, it's our intent to disrupt town business as little as possible and disrupt services as little as possible. I am happy to answer whatever questions people have. I will say though, if I am contacted by mail or by phone by a board member, anything I share with one board member, I will share with all board members. Unless it's something that's highly confidential in nature. I can't imagine. We do have a website set up on a web page rather, on our website that will have all the information about the town, so any action the LGC takes regarding the town will be published there, and any public documents as appropriate. I urge you not to listen to gossip, rumors, or speculation. It is so much better to just come to the source. If you have a question about something we're doing, ask me or my staff. Things get blown out of proportion, they end up in the newspaper. You know, I would just much rather you talk to us rather than listen to what people might be saying on the street or on Facebook or what have you. So in summary, the facts and circumstances that led Spring Lake to this point are varied and have been a long time in the making. We will not have a quick or easy turnaround. There's going to be some very hard decisions that are going to have to be made to start restoring the fiscal health of this town. But those are decisions that are going to have to be made if we want the town to survive financially. Some of the things that we have already noted, either from our review or just from conversations we've had. I think you all know the wastewater treatment plant and system is nearing the end of its life. We are currently working on determining what some of the options might be there and whether or not there's any FEMA money remaining that was never spent on upgrading that plant. Over in the revenue collection and recording area, we don't have policy or procedures established in that area, and that's one thing that we will be working with Samantha to get done. The town has very rich employee benefits compared to other towns its size. That's something we'll also take a look at. And again, these are things that we've just picked up on in, the last 3 weeks, I guess now, that we've been working, looking at your records and working with Samantha on. It doesn't mean that we're actually gonna change anything. It's just something that's an option. All right, once we get the bookkeeping caught up, we will start doing more budget actual reporting to department heads and to the board. This board hasn't had strong interim financial reporting in a long time. And that's primarily due to the way the books have been kept, or not kept, as it were. Something else that we need to work with the town on is when there are large purchases or projects to be undertaken, that there is sufficient review and forecasting done before those contracts are entered into. The town entered into the contract for the 2 fire trucks and really, quite honestly, could not afford them. We're stuck now because we took delivery of the trucks. Sorry. You've got the fire station, which we will have to work out something there. That loan should have been approved by the LGC and was not. But the town has a new fire station, so we've got to work out some way to make that fair to the EMC. We had a lot of economic development expenditures in 2020, and there needs to be more review as to the objectives, results, and oversight rather of economic development efforts. Again, there's a lot of money spent there, and I'm not sure what the town has to show for that. Those are just some of the areas that we've been working in. I'm sure there's others, and we'll continue to work with Samantha and the team here to try to find things that we can consider different ways to handle alternatives for providing services. But again, it will all be with the intent of improving the fiscal health of this town in the long term. And I'd be happy to take whatever questions.
Okay, in this order, by the way, the Christmas tree lit up, Mayor Pro Tem, Alderwoman Sutherland, Alderman O'Gara, Alderwoman Cooper. Is the order which you already have been noticing the light.
Ms. Edmondson, thank you for coming. Do you have any estimate for how long this period of external control will last?
I do not. We're very early in the process. Of course, our goal would be to get in and get out as soon as we could, because it occupies a lot of my staff's time. And this is number 7, I think, of units that we are heavily involved in right now. We were not staffed for this. We're not staffed to handle 2, much less 7. But we'll make it work, and we'll be here as long as we need to be.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Mr. Edmond. Okay, got quite a few here. Okay, you stated that, as a taxpayer, as well as the citizens here that's taxpayers, you stated you didn't know how long, but my question with this process, and I think we had talked about it, but I don't know where we are with the new auditing firm. So, where are we at with the new auditing firm that normally reports to the board? That's number 1. And then, so we would need to know, because you said our 2021 audit was gonna be late. So,
Yep, we do have an auditor lined up to do the 2021 audit. As soon as the books are in auditable condition, we will get them in here and get them started on the audit.
Okay.
I hope that that will be soon, but again, the cleaning the books up and getting things the way they should be has been an enormous task. And the team has worked very, very hard to make that happen. That it was a bigger job than I think any of us thought it was gonna be.
Again, and thank you all, because, the citizens, we need to know where we are, and
Well-
where we're going from here, and how long it's gonna take. And I say that because, we pay 70 cents to $100, one of the highest municipalities, towns with the taxes. So when we talk about our infrastructure, which is probably pretty bad off, that is a concern, as well as the roads and our services. Because I feel that we should still be getting the same services. I know some things, was cut, but our services, and I don't know where we're going from here, because the state has not put their information out. I don't know when they're gonna put it out, but, the infrastructure, our services, the auditor firm, where we at with that, as well as you said, our property taxes, and I just stated that was monies coming in, and that's one of our highest revenues, is the property taxes. So that's why I'm saying that I just don't think, maybe the workers that are getting paid with taxpayer dollars, that some kind of way we're gonna have to still make sure that the citizens have the services with our trash pickup, our police and first responders, and, just the services that we're accustomed to. Just maybe you have to work a little bit harder, but that is a concern, the services for the community. And then, with you all taking over with the finances, the policy states that the budget amendment, if anything is spent, should come before the board. So, and then normally quarterly, we get a finance report if, it was done correctly, to see where the finances are going. So, are you saying that the budget amendments won't come before the board anymore?
They will come before you as an information item. They would actually be adopted by the commission. And so what we'll do is, if there's a budget amendment that's necessary, and we'll work with Samantha and David will work with Samantha and the accountants to determine anytime there's a budget amendment that needs to be made. We'll look at why it needs to be made, whether or not you can actually afford whatever it is we're amending, because, I mean, you can't just automatically amend the budget. You've gotta make sure that there's actually money there. And then it would come before the commission. And we would let you know, of course, we'd keep you informed about all this, but it will be as an information item.
Okay, and the American Relief Fund, which was supposed to be in a separate account, and I think it was $350,000. I don't know where we stand with that, but we do have citizens asking about that, and we need to know about that. I think it's in a different account, what I was told, but it's still monies, so.
Yeah, I don't know if it's in a separate account or not. It has to be identifiable in your accounting system. And I'm confident that the staff has done that. We have been counseling towns across the state to be patient with their ARPA funds and wait and see what the state is going to do. I know that's difficult, the longer it takes the state to settle on its own budget. But, for example, you have a lot of needs in wastewater, at your wastewater treatment plant. $300,000 is not a lot of money compared to the needs at that plant. But the state, I think in the House budget, and there was also money in the Senate budget, and I have heard that part is still in the budget that's been proposed, that there's somewhere between $500,000 and $1 billion of ARPA money at the state level that will be available to local governments for water and sewer infrastructure. So Spring Lake and a lot of other towns, it's just not just y'all, would be smart to leverage that $350,000 with whatever you can get from the state. So we again are encouraging people to just sit back and be patient.
Can I just, I believe we had 3.4 million I can clarify, we, are getting a little over 3.8 million. So far, we've received 1.9 million, and it is in a separate account,
For the emergency relief fund?
the ARP, yes,
Right.
ma'am.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so how much
I
is
thought
it?
350 sounded kinda low.
Okay, what is it?
It's over 3.8 million, we've received 1.9
3.8
million.
And you get half of that this year and half next year.
Right.
So it is in a separate account,
Yes, ma'am.
and we have not discussed, and will the board be able to, because it is for the citizen and for our town, discuss how we're gonna utilize that money?
Yes, the plan is to have, public open houses
Right.
and have work sessions with the board and now the LGC whenever, it is to move forward. There are a number of years before those funds have to be spent,
Yeah.
or the projects have to be started, but.
Yeah, I know you can't put it in the, general fund to replace that, the fund balance. Okay, and one more, and then I'm finished. Our emergency, it's hurricane season, and normally we have emergency fund. To my understanding, do we still have that emergency fund monies if we need it for the town in case of a hurricane flooding?
We have a small amount of money, but we do have what we call commingled funds. So, we still have to be very, very careful with our spending.
Because we wanna still make sure that as citizens that we're covered and we get all we can get. All right, thank you, Ms. Emmons.
Alderman O'Gara, then Alderwoman Cooper.
Yes, ma'am, I was kinda curious, when you were talking about the waste management, what are the problems that we're having down there? Seems like everything's going downhill.
If I said waste management, I misspoke. The wastewater treatment plant.
Oh, the wastewater treatment?
Mhm.
Oh.
And that plant is very old at this point and was damaged, I believe, in Florence, is when it flooded. so-
Yeah, it did flood. Okay. I was also curious about just a general idea of what kind of economic development money are you talking about?
I don't think I have those details in front of me. But we'll be happy to provide those.
Ballpark.
My notes just say large dollars for hotel meals, gas, in 19 and 20, that were expended for.
A lot of them?
We'll pull that information for you and get it to you.
Thank you.
Alderwoman Cooper.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Edmondson, for being here tonight. And as I stated on, during the meeting on the fifth, I am glad you all finally showed up and, have got something done, because I've been concerned for quite a while. And, one of my questions is, if we had all of these budgeting issues, how did we get audits performed for the last 2 years? Cause we paid the firm to do the audits, but if we had all these issues, wouldn't the auditing firm know that?
You had a number of findings in your audit
Mhm.
last year. Without looking at the auditor's work papers, I can't say how the firm got comfortable that the statements were accurate. But we share that concern,
Okay.
and I'll just leave it at that.
Okay, thank you. And then, you also said, you mentioned the economic development numbers. I've been asking for those numbers for quite a while, and are you saying you're gonna finally provide us with that information?
Yes,
Okay, cause, yeah, I was not even allowed to get, credit card statements or anything as it pertained to that. So I have no clue what, I don't think any of us have any clue what
Right.
was spent. Then you also mentioned the wastewater treatment plant, and that we had received monies from FEMA, but you don't know whether we still have that money.
I don't think you actually received the money. I think there was an allocation.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if the allocation is still available. So that's what I'm trying to find out now.
So we may have lost, the window may have closed for us to receive that money? is what you're saying?
Potentially,
Okay, no.
potentially.
And then you mentioned the fire station, and it was my understanding that, that would be paid through the money that the county gave us for servicing the Manchester area. is that not, is that still not applicable?
The issue with the fire station loan is not where the money's gonna come from to repay the debt. The issue is that the loan should have come before the LGC for approval, and it didn't.
Okay.
And so that creates a problem with the contract and makes it very difficult as it exists right now for us to move forward with any debt payments against that contract. Now, they're not due yet either, so I mean, we've got some time. But, I mean, y'all got a new fire station, so we've got to figure out a way to make all of that legal again. Now, the issue was not with where the money was gonna come from for repayment.
Okay, it was just about,
It was
never
actually
took it
about
to
the loan
LGC.
contract itself, yeah.
Okay, well, and then you also mentioned, the finance, positions that are being held. Are we going to hire a permanent finance, director? Are we still looking?
Yes, we're still looking, it's still being advertised, and so if anyone knows of anyone, please encourage them to apply, but yes, we are still looking for a permanent finance director. All of our finance team are contracted out.
Well, that is, I think that is all of my questions. I would love to have not been in this situation, and
We would have liked
if
for you not to be in it too.
if there is some way to show other elected officials how to keep from getting in this situation, I think that's something that needs to be shared, because I mean, you know I was concerned early on, but I'm only one person.
Well, part of the goal of the board training that y'all participated in was to help the board to understand their fiduciary responsibilities when it comes to town finance. So, that was one reason. And every time we have to go through one of these, we learn something that we can take to the next one. And, you know, knock on wood, there won't be any more. Just as far as what you could have done differently, I would just say pay closer attention to what was going on. And this is not something that happened here overnight. It's not something that happened just to this current board. You know, I don't think it's any secret that Spring Lake's had issues for a long time. And it's just kind of culminated in where we are now.
I mean, for the benefit of our citizens, you all work with the state auditors as well.
We work in conjunction with them. I mean, they have their role and we have ours, so.
Could you help us understand a little better each role and how your information at some point comes together for the overall picture of our financial unhealthiness?
The auditor's office is responsible for doing investigations, such as the one that was conducted here, and other towns. And they have an entire segment of their staff that does nothing but investigations. Now they will contact us for information to help with that investigative process, but that is their responsibility, and we really don't get involved in it in a direct way most of the time. The auditor, of course, sits on the local government commission, so she is one of 9 votes when situations come up with the local government. And so she, of course, shares her information and uses her influence there as well. We review your audit reports and look for information in those, which are all, you know, historical documents. By the time we get it, it's 4 or 5 months after the end of the fiscal year or longer. And look for signs that there are issues. Sometimes we will see something that we will refer over to the investigative staff at the auditor's office. But we really don't work, I wouldn't say that we work together on a everyday basis. We share information, certainly.
Okay, thank you. Now, some of our residents have signed up, under the, public comment, section of our agenda. But their topics of concern, were, for the most part, LGC in your report. So now, you are open for questions, so the following people did sign up, so if they would like to speak, we will have them in this order. Gwen Steve, you're concerned with LGC. Sasha Arnold, you're concerned with for LGC. Marvin Lackman, LGC. Chesley Lockett, LGC. Kia Anthony, LGC. So, if they would like to address or have questions of you, you may approach at this time. And that way your questions can be answered. That was Steve, Arnold, Lackman, Lockett, and Anthony, in that order. Hello.
I only have one question. I would like to know what actions are being implemented to get the finance for the town of Spring Lake in order to give control back to the town. Also, whatever is done, will it affect the citizens with possible increases of our taxes and utilities? I'm open to listening.
Well, as I stated earlier, we're in the very early stages of this process. We don't yet know what is needed to address all the financial concerns here, so we will keep you informed of all of that as we go along. I don't think, if memory serves, I don't think we've ever had to raise taxes in the town of make budget cuts. We don't take over towns that have lots of money. So, something has to change, obviously, to get you on a better path, but, we don't immediately go to, we'll just increase taxes, it would last thing.
Ms. Steve, before you sit down, I neglected to ask that, each of you give us also your name and address. For the record, would you, give us your address?
Yes. 103 Marvin Drive, Spring Lake, North Carolina.
Thank you, Tammy. All right. Ms. Arnold.
I appreciate you giving the clarification and specification, for where you all, your LGC part versus the state part, so that kind of minimizes some of my questions. My biggest concern is, for the town and the citizens, we have an election coming up. There are so many things that we don't know. A lot of us that are here now are actually candidates that are running, and it kind of dampens, the ground that we stand on for a lot of the unknown and the uncertainty. So is there a window or time frame for the local citizens to know anything? I did hear you say about the gossip and the hearsay or go to the source. Well, we don't get any of that information. From my digging just off of things that are public record, I've seen that a lot of things that we're coming back to our board members, this problem stemmed, as you stated, from several terms back. And it's like it's an avalanche or a snowball effect. And what we're seeing as new potential oncomers, no matter what happens, we're gonna have a new mayor. We're gonna have potentially 3 other board members. And we're coming into a different gamut, of governing, and nothing's being told to us. And I appreciate the information that you gave us, but we're stuck. Like, it changes everything. You don't know what your next step is other than to say change. But what do I change? What do I work towards to change? Because we know nothing.
I understand the frustration, we share the frustration. I know the management shares the frustration of not knowing what's next. We are still in, I guess, what I would call the triage stage here. Our first steps are, well, number one, to make sure there's debt service payments get made, so the town doesn't default on its debt. That's very important. And then the second thing is to stop the bleeding. I mean, the town had a deficit
realistically, the board that's coming for end of 2021 to be sworn in, it may not even, we may not even have an impact on anything other than cleaning up what's already here. So with that being said, at some point, Spring Lake citizens, take the election away. Spring Lake citizens, our taxpayers, we need to know like the meat of what's going on, because I can sit here and point fingers all day long. And, you know, some of these people were here, some were not, you know, new people are coming on, but we still have no answers. And there's something going on. Y'all know something because of the things that are changing. And I may be wrong. From my understanding, when you all came back here in July, it was get a budget done so that this doesn't happen. So the fact that you all came here and this happened, something has been uncovered.
There's a bunch of moving parts here.
Okay?
The investigation's being done by the Office of State Auditor. I cannot speak what they may or may not have found.
Okay.
Hopefully that report will get issued sooner rather than later.
And the bad part about that is, I can bet my bottom dollar it will not happen before November the 2nd.
Yeah, honestly, I don't expect it.
Okay.
They haven't said that officially. They haven't said that it's not gonna happen. They haven't said that it is. That just knowing how those things generally work.
Okay.
Not expected. We did say adopt a budget, and we did adopt a budget that we felt like was reasonable. But then as we continue to work with Samantha and the accounting team and monitor things that were happening here, we became concerned that the cash flow might not be sufficient to get you to with the higher cash flow months, November, December.
So I appreciate that explanation, but at what point was the town gonna be told that? We know nothing. We're just sitting around here, you come up here to pay something and everything is shut down. Or you see an email or something riding around with somebody's car, the state took over. Or you read something in the newspaper that is steadily bashing the town of Spring Lake. We know nothing. And we know nothing. So the explanation you've given me is more than any of us have gotten from anybody. And we gotta do better collectively. Whether you're on the board or you're somewhere else, as a township, we gotta do better. And
Like I said, one of our goals is to get the finances to a place where the board will get monthly as part of the public record.
okay. Well, I appreciate it.
That's important. It's important that you have it, it's important that it's system.
Thank you.
Marvin Lackman. Your address as well, please.
Marvin Lackman, 125 Kristen Avenue here in Spring Lake. I've got this kind of geared towards everybody, so I'm going to direct most of this to the board here as we go. Mr. Dobbins, Board of Aldermen and Women. A couple of you all chose to end your time as elected officials on your terms. Thank you for knowing your limits and taking Spring Lake as far as you did. We have some energetic new leaders sitting behind us here, willing to fill your shoes. And on November 2nd, in a matter of 8 days, the voters will make that decision. Tonight, I want to thank the state auditor and the local government commission for uncovering and exposing your secrets, as well as peeling back the onion and working to rebuild our foundation. Thank you. Most importantly, we owe a big thank you to Alderwomen Sutherland and Cooper, as well as several citizens that have been speaking out, that have been talking with you, asking to speak to you in regards to what's taking place here in Spring Lake. You failed to listen. You failed to heed what was addressed to you. Without these brave citizens and knowledgeable people, just imagine what shape Spring Lake would be in if it hadn't been for these people. A big thank you to these watchdogs that are looking out after Spring Lake. To the citizens of Spring Lake, your voices are heard. And on November 2nd, your vote will be heard. I'm borrowing a quote from Dale Cromwell, who said about himself, "I am poor in resources, but rich in opportunity." Tonight, I say Spring Lake is poor in resources, but rich in opportunities. We cannot change our past, but we will write our future. Because Spring Lake matters. Thank you.
Chesley Lockett. Okay, then the next person, your answer. Where? Oh, okay, I beg your pardon. Okay.
Okay, yeah.
All right, take your time.
Good evening.
Good evening.
To all the Aldermen. And the people that came in to listen. Okay. I'm gonna get straight to the point. I know I only have 3 minutes. I can talk to you about what I want to really tell you. I want you to understand what I'm saying. I don't want you to go out and talk about, I said this, I had that. I'm telling you straight. I worked for this town about 10 years. This is the worst I have ever seen it. I want you to say it. I want you to understand it. I have never seen this town in such shape. To begin with, you are top heavy. I want you to understand that now. You are top heavy with the people in the know. I'm talking about the people that ride around not doing a damn thing in them 150 Ford trucks. Now I'm telling you what I know. I'm not telling you about some theories. Damn the theories. I'm telling you about what I know. I have been there. I better hurry up and get all this done because I ain't got but 3 minutes. I can talk and tell you about this town, a whole bunch of stuff. If something happens at night, when I was working for this town, they had a man on duty. We called him the standby man. That standby man was called from the dispatcher office in the police station. She would explain to him, I said him, what the problem was. If that standby man didn't fix that problem, like a leak or stoppage for that customer, he had better be ready to listen to the man in charge. If the water tank didn't fall down to the ground, he better fix it. It's just simple as that. Okay, I see so much, and I can understand. Now, you don't have to be a mathematician to understand why this town gets so bad with their money.
Mr. Lockett,
It's,
we have allowed you considerably more than 3 minutes.
say what?
We have allowed you considerably more than 3 minutes.
My 30 minutes, my 3 minutes is up.
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Come back at our next meeting, please.
I appreciate you letting me know it's 3 minutes.
Thank you, sir.
I don't agree with you, but you give me 3 minutes.
Kia Anthony, please.
Good evening, Board. I would like to, in public comments on a positive note, letting everybody know, first thanking the LGC. A lot of people presume that the LGC takeover is a negative thing. I think it's a beautiful thing that's happening. Now we can have full and total transparency about what's happening in the town. We have a solid ground to build on with truth and transparency. So thank you for all the work that you're doing, all the work that you're going to do with the incoming administration. So thank you for that. I would also like to acknowledge the awards that were won by our fire department. Here's my, I have to pull this up. So this, just a few days ago, the Valor Awards by, the Greater Fayetteville Chamber, the fire department received several life-saving awards for a very heroic effort that saved the life of Mr. Smith. He lost his limb, but they saved his life. So I want to acknowledge our fire department for a job well done. I also want to invite everybody out to a townwide trunk or treat. Several different community organizations have joined together to provide our residents a safe and happy COVID-friendly Halloween. We have 6 different locations. Those locations are Bragg Boulevard, the Big Lots parking lot, Mendoza Park, Cricket Wireless in the Walmart Plaza on Lillington Highway, Ruth Street Fire Department, Bethel Church on Bass Road, and the lot behind Ruby Tuesday. It's 266 3rd Street. So we welcome you all to come out, bring your kids. It's from 6 to 8 p.m. Thank you again, Board. Thank you for your time. Thank you, LGC.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, that's the end. Oh, well, perhaps there may be some other citizens here who didn't sign up, because I understand that they want to understand what's going on. So, anybody in row 1 to my right? Yes, sir. Come on.
I signed up, but it's not about the LGC.
Yeah. Excuse me, sir. No. I've just been informed, sir, that he doesn't think, our attorney, that we can add anybody that's not on the list. But you're Mr. John Russell?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and your subject was Town of Spring Lake history?
Yes.
Okay, now, what I saw here is this will be allowed in the public comment section. The original ones who came up, they put aside their topic of concern, the LGC.
Well, it kind of covers that, because I'm covering Spring Lake history.
Yes, sir. Come right ahead, sir, and we'll have it out of the way. Yes, sir. Thank you.
I appreciate the time.
Yes, sir.
Mayor and Board.
Yes, sir. And please share your address with us, please.
John Russell, 3324 Bolero Court in Deerfield Subdivision. I just really have one question that I wanted to ask. It doesn't really need to be answered by any of the board members. But why does everybody think Spring Lake is such a joke? Well, I'll give you some historical facts covering 14 years. Fayetteville Observer and WRAL 2007. Spring Lake, the police department was stripped of its remaining police powers Monday. 2 officers arrested, 1 charged with 11 crimes, including embezzlement by a public officer. The other charged with 20 crimes, including breaking and entering, second-degree kidnapping, and obstruction of justice. And when they got stripped of their Their powers, this lasted for 6 years until June 1st, 2013. WRAL and WTVD, April 9th, 2010. One of 2 Spring Lake police officers pleaded guilty to embezzlement, so it goes back to the 2007 report. The SBI to take control of all Spring Lake Police Department files, which, this was ordered by a judge. Fayetteville Observer, March 23, 2015. The Spring Lake town manager resigned Monday following allegations that he and other town employees has misused town-issued purchasing cards. So as far as what you think it might have went back to over many boards, in my opinion, from this just an internet search, this has been possibly going on for over 6 years. During a special meeting on the card issue, the misappropriation of taxpayer dollars is a direct result of the lack of enforcement, no accountability, which goes back to the record keeping, and reflection of the town's leadership, you guys, according to the minutes from the meeting. After reviewing the receipts, Perry said she determined a lot of violations of the town's policies. She also alleged personal use in some transactions. Imagine that. And these receipts were for food purchases, dry cleaning, and uniforms, she said. So maybe that goes back to mills and hotels from the environmental or economic development stuff. And let's just jump up to the Fayetteville Observer, October 5th, 2021. The State Local Government Commission voted today, Tuesday, to take over the finances of Spring Lake. This commission cited concerns about whether the town might default on debt service payments of more than $220,000 in November, which he already stated. The statement said in the past years the town has permitted special spending that is not in the general fund budget and allowed the general fund to fall in deficit.
Mr. Russell.
Over a $1 million loan in October 2020, and we talked about that, but I hope most of you have been on this board during this 14-year time walk down history. I hope that the people of Spring Lake will wake up and vote for new blood, or as some candidates said, a fresh start, because if not, Spring Lake will probably continue to be a joke in the local news. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Okay, item on the agenda 5B, Interim Police Chief Spellman.
Good evening, Mayor and board members. As we're all aware, this year Halloween falls on Sunday, October 31st. I recommend the town to do the Halloween activities on Saturday, October 30th, between 6 p.m. and 8 p.m. This time has been set up by Cumberland County and of course consistent with other communities throughout the county. Spring Lake Police Department will have extra patrol out during that time frame to ensure the safety of the trick-or-treaters during that time.
Alderwoman Sutherland.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to offer you a motion that we approve the agenda for October the 30th, 2021, time 6 p.m. to 8.
Alderman O'Gara.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded that we approve the trick-or-treat time that's suggested or offered by the interim police chief from 6 to 8 o'clock. You've heard the motion. Are you ready for the question?
Question.
All in favor, sign of aye.
Aye.
The ayes have it, so ordered. Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
Item 5C, resolution, Ms. Perez.
Good evening, Mayor and Board of Aldermen. I bring before you tonight the resolution for the new holiday schedule for 2022. And the attachment A is a holiday schedule.
Alderwoman Cooper.
Thank you, Mayor. I make a motion that we approve the proposed holiday schedule for the 2022 year.
Alderman O'Gara.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded.
Already.
Okay, let me call for the motion. All in favor, are you ready for the question? Alderwoman, Sutherland.
Okay, just a couple questions of clarification. When I counted these holiday schedules, just the ones that's on here, it was 12. But then if you go across where it says Thanksgiving is Thursday the 24th, 2022, and then Friday, November the 25th. But they're closed on Fridays. So, not understanding that a little bit, as well as Christmas is the 23rd, 2022, and then it says and Monday, December the 26th. So, would it, the bullet points here is 12, so 12, 13, is that 14? And then I think when the Juneteenth got approved, Ms. Jackson, I think maybe asked that question, and I think they said they was going to substitute one of the other holidays for the Juneteenth. So did we take that in consideration? You go back and look at the minutes?
So and we have a policy handbook, and it speaks to the days that are observed. For instance, when Christmas falls on a weekend, it's usually the Friday and Monday that is observed. And then for anybody who works, and this is the same for public safety and any other position, or anybody who is scheduled to work, they're already off, they have a compressed work week, what have you, and there's a holiday, let's just say on a Friday, then they are allowed those holiday hours to be used at a separate time throughout the week. Hopefully as close to that already scheduled holiday as possible for those that are
Or the
not
first
scheduled to work.
responders will be working as, but what about the water department? Because normally when y'all off on Fridays, the water department is still open. So is this across the board that the water department will be closed as well since it's a Friday?
Yes.
Okay, so it's 14 days then that we've approved them. Is that correct? 12, 13. So the handbook states what now?
There's in a policy handbook, it talks about the holiday schedule and how it is to be observed. All employees are granted the same amount of holiday leave, just depending on the position. There's a lot of employees and departments that work a lot of different schedules. So everybody's granted the same amount of time and able to utilize that according to the policy handbook.
Okay, I think the board probably needs to look at that as well, so we're not just approving things. But I just thought I'd bring it to your attention since you're closed anyway when you put it on here for the holiday schedule. Okay, thank you, Mr. Mayor.
All right, so, all in favor of the motion, make a number of sign of aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, sign of nay. All right, the motion is carried. Okay, item, 5D, Alderwoman Sutherland, discussion of, Mr. Johnny Wilkie.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I think for our business purposes, and that's just not singling out him, but for any business that have served the community for over 50 years, I think it should be we should recognize that business, some type of certificate or something like that. So I'd like to put that out there because we need to keep a good relationship with our businesses. So many of them have left the town of Spring Lake and moved on. So would like to see a recognition for Mr. Johnny, any other businesses left that served the community that long. So if we could maybe, at our next board meeting, contact him to let him know that we would like to give him a certificate of appreciation. Okay?
Mayor Pro Tem?
Perhaps a proclamation?
Okay, well, the board can decide tonight.
What did you say?
Is there perhaps a proclamation for Mr. Wilkie?
Yes, sir.
And that might be appropriate.
Yes.
Then going forward, we can have this for any business that's been here
Yes,
for a
sir.
certain number of years.
Yeah.
Good relationship with our businesses. So do we need to vote on that, Mr. Mayor?
If you would like to make a motion.
So moved.
Alderwoman Sutherland.
So moved.
Oh,
Mayor Pro Tem?
I second that motion.
All in favor of the motion, sign of aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, sign of nay. All right, so a proclamation for business owners who have been here for periods of time. Beginning with, Mr. Johnny Wilson. Okay, item 5E, Alderwoman Sutherland.
Thank you again, Mr. Mayor. Normally, proper protocol, but normally I think the question has been put out there about our Christmas tree lighting, the date, as well as the gifts. We used to give away, those candy canes cost about $1 to the community, and that's when I talk about services and our tax dollars that we pay. I think last year we ran out of gifts, given to the community, so did we come up with a date? Normally it's the first, Monday of December, around the 6th or 7th, depending on what it falls on, as well as if we can, come to collectively knowing the gifts that we're gonna give, so the town, it won't be an embarrassment when we have to turn around all those kids like we did last year when we ran out of gifts. So if we can kind of come up with something, because it is a town event, not a personalized event, I think that we should decide what we're gonna do with that.
Yes, I can research that for you.
Excuse me?
Yes, ma'am, I'll research that.
Okay. So you're gonna come back and let the board know, so we can let the community know in a timely manner?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, thank you, Ms. Samantha. That's all I have, thank you.
Thank you. Item 8 on the agenda. A motion. Alderwoman Cooper,
I make a motion that we adjourn.
Mayor Pro Tem.
I second that motion.
Then moving second, we adjourn. All in favor, sign of aye.
Aye.